for your needs. Well, I want us to take a look at a parable. I don't have it up on the screen this morning. I was hoping people would pull out their Bibles. If you have a Bible in front of you, pull it out. If you brought your own, great. Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. This is a parable which is well known to lots of people. It's a parable of the Good Samaritan. But we're going to take a different look, a different twist on this parable this morning. Luke chapter 10, we're going to be looking at verses 30 and following. I never thought about this with this parable until doing some reading this week, and it just really fits in with thou shalt not steal. The start of the parable, verses 25 to 30, there's an expert in the law who comes to Jesus and says, Jesus, what do I got to do to inherit life? What do I need to do? The action. You know, we tend to think that is something we have to do. Reality is it's not what we do, but what Christ has done. It's not what I do, but it's what Christ has done. We know that, but this expert in the law didn't understand that. And he says, what do I got to do, teacher, to inherit eternal life? And Jesus says, what does it say in the law, in the Old Testament? And the man says, love the Lord your God with your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, you did it, you answered it right. Go and do this. And then the man wants to justify himself, and he says, well, who's my neighbor? I know who God is. I can love God with my heart, soul, mind, and strength. I can love myself, but who is my neighbor? You got to remember that Jews and Samaritans hated each other. Samaritans were half-breeds of Jewish people, and way back within the 500-600 BC when Jerusalem and when Israel fell to Nebuchadnezzar, to Babylon. Anyway, Jesus tells them this story, this parable. And he says, a man, verse 30, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And it's interesting there because Jerusalem is at a higher elevation. Now, we tend to say that if my mom's in Holland, we say mom's coming down to Kalamazoo because she's coming south. We say if we're going up, we're going north, coming down, you're going south. For the Jewish people, it wasn't whether you're going north, south, east, west. It was the elevation. Jerusalem was higher. So Jesus says, there was a man going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And there he fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him of his clothes. They beat him, and they went away, leaving him half dead. Thou shalt not steal. The first way that we tend to steal, and it's the most easy way for us to see how we steal from each other, is when we say, what's yours is mine. That little joke, you know, within marriages, when you first get married, you say, oh, now what, yours is mine. When we think what is yours is really mine. These robbers were looking at the guy going down, and the robbers are saying, you know, we want his clothes. We want what he has. What is his really is going to become ours. FBI estimates that this year, 1 in 6 homes will be robbed. 1 in 6. So you look around the sanctuary this morning, and how many families aren't representative here? 1 in 6 of us, they say, will be robbed this coming year at a cost of $1,675. Average person who's robbed from their home. I don't know if any of you have ever been robbed before. Had somebody break into your house? I did once, and you feel violated. You know, when somebody who's not supposed to be in the house is there and takes items that are mine, I feel violated. I did. It's like, what are they doing? They thought what was mine was actually theirs, so they took it. Wasn't that easy for us to see? I mean, when we think about this commandment, thou shalt not steal, it is easy to see the idea when somebody else steals something from us, when there is a tangible thing that is stolen. But how about when it's not quite so tangible? How about when your friend gets a wonderful new CD and you borrow it and you burn the CD? Is that stealing or not? Some people say, oh no, we're just doing it for our own usage. But what does the cover of the CD say? I'm guilty of this too. I'm talking to myself here. You know, what does the cover say? That it's for, you're not supposed to copy. A few years ago, when not 8 tracks, but the cassette players were going on, the older kids and I had bought some special exercise tapes, and my future daughter-in-law wanted one, and so we made a copy of it, but it didn't turn out because somehow they did it that we couldn't copy it. Well, what were we really doing? Stealing. It's easy for us to look at somebody else who takes a tangible item. But how about when we take those things that are untangible? Those things that you really can't get your hand upon. Proverbs 11 says that the Lord abhors dishonest scales. What Proverbs 11 is talking about is in the marketplace when people would go to buy something, and it's the idea of the Norman Rockwell painting of years ago, where there's a butcher on the one side of the counter, and the butcher has his big fat thumb pushing down on the scale with the turkey. And the dainty lady is on the other side of the counter, a 100-pound lady, has her little pinky pushing the scale up. It's a great picture. The butcher is trying to steal from the little old lady. The little old lady is trying to steal from the butcher. Thou shalt not steal. God says, I abhor dishonest scales. You and I tend to rationalize some of the things that I do, which is really stealing from somebody else. The reality is, God says, no, I want you to be honest. I want you to be a man of integrity. Also, within Matthew 21:13, talks about the cleaning of the temple. When Jesus goes into the temple, he does it twice. He goes in and he throws out the money changers. He throws out those who are selling the sheep, the lambs, the whatnot for sacrifices. Well, the church for a long time said because Jesus did that, we should sell nothing in church. When Sue was up here, my wife's up here saying, yeah, we have these tickets for a stroll through Paris, I'm thinking, man, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been doing this in the sanctuary. Not at all. But that was a misunderstanding of what was going on within Jesus' time. What was going on is the religious leaders who were in control of the merchandise in the temple were having an exploitation of the Jewish people who came to buy a lamb to be sacrificed. And they raised the price a huge way. I'm thinking I can't think of the word, but you all understand what I'm saying. What? Extortion. They were extorting the people, thanks, Sherry, extorting the people with the price that they were charging. They were stealing. So you see, it's easy for us to look at the robbers and say, they're stealing. Easy for me 20 years ago to look back and see the person who robbed me of tools from my house and say, he stole. It's not always so easy when we see how we steal those small things with each other. And yet, God still says, you shall not steal. But let's go on, if you have your Bible open. Luke chapter 10. So the man's going down. The robbers beat him. They strip him of his clothes. They leave him half dead. So the robbers are saying, what is yours is really mine. I want what you have. I'm going to take what you have. I don't want to pay for it. Verse 31. A priest happened to be going down the same road. And when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. Priest, probably fairly well off, highly respected individual of the community. And then a Levite, who also did the same thing. Both the priest and the Levite worked in the temple, came to the place, saw him, and passed by the other side. You know, we often say, well, what's yours is mine, but we also say, what is mine is mine. The priest and the Levite had the resources. The priest and the Levite had the ability. The priest and the Levite probably had